I carried my country on my back for 20 years. But nothing prepared me for carrying my son's madness. Thunder crashes outside our cramped Houston apartment. The rain hammers against cracked windows like bullets on metal. My son Michael towers over me, screaming at ghosts. His fists bleed from punching the bathroom mirror into pieces. Glass sparkles on linoleum like deadly diamonds under fluorescent lights. Blood drips from his knuckles, painting crimson dots on white tile. "Antonio is coming for me," he shouts at his reflection. Great-grandfather Antonio died 60 years before Michael was born. Yet Michael talks to him every single night. I keep my voice steady like I learned in Baghdad. "Michael, baby, you need to breathe with me." His eyes burn wild and unfocused, staring through my soul. He swipes at invisible enemies, dancing around our kitchen table. The neighbors pound on thin walls, yelling about the noise. My hands shake as I dial 911. 23 years as an army medic trained me for battlefields. But nothing prepared me for this war inside my home. The operator asks if weapons are present in the household. I glance at Michael's 6-foot frame and bleeding hands. "My son is the weapon," I whisper into the phone. Red and blue lights slice through our darkness like sabers. Paramedics rush up 3 flights of broken concrete stairs. They strap Michael to a gurney with thick leather restraints. His screams echo down the hallway, piercing every neighbor's heart. In the ambulance, red lights paint my face like war. My reflection in the window shows steel eyes and sorrows. The siren wails as we race toward another psychiatric ward. This is our 4th hospitalization in 6 months alone. Michael mumbles about Antonio and the bloodline curse he carries. I hold his restrained hand, feeling his pulse racing wildly. 28 years old, and my beautiful boy is disappearing. The schizophrenia struck him at 25 without warning. Before that, Michael painted murals that made strangers weep. His art transformed abandoned buildings into masterpieces of hope. Children from Laredo to Houston knew his colorful wall stories. Now those same hands that created beauty destroy everything. The ambulance hits a pothole and memories crash over me. Laredo, Texas, 1978, feels like another lifetime. I was 8 years old, chasing butterflies through desert heat. Mama sang gospel songs while hanging laundry on rusty lines. Daddy worked oil rigs, bringing home stories and paychecks. Our little house on Flores Street overflowed with laughter. Sunday dinners meant 20 relatives crowding around wooden tables. Great Aunt Rosa always whispered about cursed bloodlines and madness. She spoke of Antonio, my great-grandfather, in hushed tones. He heard voices and saw demons nobody else could see. The family locked him away in state hospitals until death. Rosa warned us the sickness travels through family blood. I laughed at her superstitions while stealing extra cornbread. But now her words echo, like prophecies in hospital corridors. The ambulance stops, and reality crashes back into focus. Michael needs emergency sedation before they can admit him. I sign papers with trembling hands stained by his blood. The psychiatric ward smells like disinfectant and broken dreams. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting shadows on sterile walls. I remember another night exactly like this one. David, my husband, couldn't handle Michael's first psychotic break. He paced our bedroom for hours, talking about family shame. "What will people at church think?" he kept asking. I told him love conquers everything, even mental illness. But David saw only monsters where I saw our son. The phone rang at 3 a.m. on November 15th. David's voice sounded hollow, like wind through empty bottles. "Helen, I can't carry this burden anymore," he whispered. The line went dead before I could say goodbye. 30 minutes later, police found his body in our garage. The suicide note contained only 8 devastating words written shakily. "I can't carry this anymore, forgive me, please." The gunshot still echoes in my nightmares 15 years later. That sound cuts through every quiet moment I try stealing. David abandoned us when we needed him most desperately. Now I fight this battle completely alone and outnumbered. The doctor approaches with charts and sympathetic expressions. Mrs. Johnson, Michael is responding well to new medication. He should stabilize within 72 hours if lucky. I nod while calculating missed workdays and hospital bills. My savings account bleeds money faster than Michael's knuckles. But I survived mortar attacks in Iraqi desert storms. I carried wounded soldiers through hostile enemy territory. This war at home demands the same fierce determination. Outside rain continues hammering against hospital windows relentlessly. Lightning illuminates empty parking lots like battlefield explosions. I close my eyes and feel David's ghost beside me. His absence weighs heavier than my army pack ever did. The war overseas had clear enemies and defined missions. This battle has no rules, no victory conditions, no end. Michael sleeps now sedated into temporary peaceful silence. His face looks young and innocent under harsh lights. I remember rocking him to sleep 25 years ago. He hummed melodies and painted pictures with finger foods. That little boy still lives somewhere behind schizophrenic walls. Tomorrow, I will fight to bring him home again. Because soldiers never abandon their wounded brothers in arms. And mothers never surrender their children to darkness. This crack in our world will not defeat us. We will find light even in the deepest shadows. The storm outside begins to weaken and fade away. But the real battle is just beginning for us. I am Helen Johnson, and this is our war. Hospital waiting rooms smell like broken dreams and disinfectant. I sit alone on cracked plastic chairs watching fluorescent lights flicker. Michael sleeps sedated 3 floors above me in psychiatric lockdown. The clock ticks like a metronome counting endless empty hours. My mind drifts back to Laredo, Texas, 1878. Dust devils danced across our backyard like miniature tornadoes. Mama hung wet sheets on rusty clotheslines under blazing Sunday. The fabric snapped in desert wind like flags of surrender. I was 8 years old chasing lizards through prickly pear. Daddy worked construction building houses for oil rig families. His calloused hands could frame walls and braid my hair. After work, he taught me carpentry in our garage workshop. Helen, baby strength ain't winning the fight, he always said. It's standing up after you fall that makes you strong. He showed me how to measure twice and cut once. Sawdust covered everything like golden snow in summer heat. I learned to swing hammers with precision and deadly accuracy. Neighborhood boys laughed at the girl, playing with power tools. But Daddy taught me tools don't care about gender stereotypes. Wood responds to skill, not the color of skin. By 12, I could build birdhouses that survived Texas storms. Mama sang gospel songs while cooking beans and cornbread. Her voice floated through screen doors like angels calling home. Sunday mornings meant church clothes and fried chicken dinners. The congregation knew every verse of Amazing Grace by heart. Pastor Williams preached about faith moving mountains of trouble. I believed God lived in thunderclouds and butterfly wings. High school brought dreams bigger than Laredo city limits. Military recruiters visited our school promising college money and adventure. Boys talked about football scholarships and factory jobs. I talked about serving my country in foreign lands. Guidance counselors said girls should consider nursing or teaching. I said I wanted to be a combat medic. They laughed until I scored higher than any male recruit. 18 years old, boarding a bus to Fort Benning, Georgia. Mama cried behind sunglasses at the Greyhound station. Daddy pressed $20 into my uniform pockets secretly. "Make us proud, baby girl," he whispered through tears. Basic training felt like hell designed by sadistic angels. Drill sergeants screamed about weakness and worthless recruits daily. I did push-ups until my arms felt like rubber. Ran miles through Georgia mud carrying 60-pound packs. White recruits whispered racial slurs during midnight marches. I proved myself with every obstacle course and shooting range. The rifle felt natural in my steady hands. First aid training revealed my calling as battlefield medic. I learned to save lives under impossible pressure. Blood and chaos became familiar friends during combat exercises. Graduation day arrived with families cheering from metal bleachers. I stood tall in dress uniform, feeling proud and terrified. Assignment came to Fort Hood, Texas, near Austin City. The motor pool buzzed with mechanics fixing broken vehicles. David Martinez worked under truck hoods singing Spanish songs. His laugh echoed across concrete bays like church bells. Grease stains covered his uniform but never his smile. He told jokes that made hardened soldiers giggle like children. David noticed me reading medical textbooks during lunch breaks. "You saving lives while I fix trucks," he said, grinning. His brown eyes sparkled with mischief and genuine kindness. We talked about families and dreams over cafeteria, coffee. He grew up in San Antonio fixing cars since age 10. His father taught him engines have personalities like people. David played guitar with fingers that knew wrenches and strings. He smuggled his acoustic into the storage shed secretly. Late nights after duty, we met behind maintenance buildings. Stars scattered across Texas sky like diamond dust. He played country songs while I hummed harmony melodies. His voice was rough velvet, singing about lonesome highways. I told him about Laredo and my carpenter father. He understood working with hands to build something lasting. Our first kiss happened during a thunderstorm in August. Rain drummed on tin roof, while lightning split darkness. His lips tasted like coffee and promises of tomorrow. We held each other listening to thunder roll away. Dating in the military required creativity and stolen moments. We walked base perimeter talking about civilian dreams. David wanted to open an auto shop in small towns. I planned to become a nurse after military service. We imagined houses with front porches and vegetable gardens. Children playing in backyards we would build together. The proposal happened during Christmas, leave 1985. David drove me to Laredo wearing his dress uniform. He asked Daddy permission, speaking respectful Spanish and English. Daddy shook his hand, saying Helen chose a good man. The ring was simple gold with tiny diamond chip. David saved for months buying it from pawn shops. I cried seeing my reflection in his hopeful eyes. Yes flowed from my heart before brain could object. Our wedding happened at St. Augustine Church in Laredo. Mama sewed my white dress from fabric store remnants. The ceremony cost $300, including reception food. Military friends drove from Fort Hood bringing loud laughter. David wore dress blues with shiny buttons and pride. I carried desert wildflowers picked that same morning. My hands looked rough against delicate white fabric. Calluses from weapons training and medical equipment showed clearly. Pastor Williams pronounced us husband and wife officially. We kissed while congregation cheered and children threw rice. The reception featured mariachi music and homemade tamales. Daddy danced with me to La Bamba slowly. Helen, mija, you picked a man with good heart. David played guitar, serenading me with Spanish love songs. His voice cracked with emotion during the romantic ballads. We drove to Galveston for a 3-day honeymoon getaway. The Gulf of Mexico stretched endless toward hidden horizons. Waves crashed against sand like applause, celebrating our love. We walked barefoot, sharing dreams under moonlight and stars. David promised to love me through every storm ahead. I promised to stand beside him through joy and sorrow. Neither of us knew what darkness waited around corners. But that night we believed love could conquer anything. The hospital intercom crackles, bringing me back to reality. Visiting hours end in 30 minutes, the voice announces. I close my eyes, holding those golden memories tight. That young couple had no idea what was coming. But their love created something beautiful despite everything. It created Michael, and this unbreakable bond between us. Tomorrow, I will climb stairs to see my son. Those memories will give me strength to keep fighting. Love remains even when everything else falls apart. March 15, 1989 changed everything forever. Labor pains started at 3 a.m. during a thunderstorm. David drove through flooded streets to Laredo General Hospital. Rain hammered our windshield like bullets on armor plating. I gripped his hand, breathing through contractions and fear. 12 hours later, Michael David Martinez Johnson entered this world. 7 pounds, 4 ounces of perfect, wrinkled baby boy. His cry pierced the delivery room like victorious battle hymn. David wept, holding our son with trembling soldier hands. Hez, our future baby David, whispered against my forehead. Michael had my stubborn chin and David's gentle eyes. 10 tiny fingers gripped my thumb with surprising strength. I counted each toe twice, making sure everything was perfect. The nurses said he was the most beautiful baby born. We brought him home to our small apartment near base. David painted the nursery yellow with dancing teddy bears. I rocked Michael to sleep singing old gospel songs. Mama came from Laredo, bringing homemade quilts and wisdom. She held her grandson like precious treasure from heaven. That baby got old soul eyes, she whispered mysteriously. I dismissed her superstitions, focusing on diaper changes and feedings. Michael grew quickly, reaching every milestone right on schedule. He walked at 11 months, climbing everything in sight. His first word was, Mama, followed immediately by Dada. But something felt different about our beautiful boy early. Michael talked to empty corners of every single room. He drew strange shapes with crayons before learning letters. Dark swirls and jagged lines covered every piece of paper. David laughed, calling him our little abstract artist genius. I worried privately about those disturbing midnight conversations with nobody. Michael would sit up in his crib talking animatedly. His baby gibberish sounded like he was answering someone. The pediatrician said imaginary friends were completely normal for toddlers. But Michael's invisible companions felt different, somehow more real. He described them with details that chilled my blood. The old man with sad eyes visits me, Michael said. He tells me stories about our family long ago. His name is Antonio, and he lives inside mirrors. I froze hearing my great-grandfather's name from toddler lips. Michael had never heard that name spoken in our house. David was out buying groceries when this conversation happened. I knelt beside Michael's bed, feeling ice in my veins. What does Antonio tell you, baby? I asked carefully. He says the darkness follows our family through blood. He says I have to be strong like you. But sometimes the voices get too loud in here. Michael tapped his tiny forehead with serious expression. That night, I called Mama, desperate for family history. She sighed deeply before sharing the forbidden family secrets. Your great-grandfather Antonio heard voices all his life. He drew pictures of demons only he could see. The family committed him to state hospital in Austin. He died there alone, talking to invisible tormentors daily. Rosa always said the sickness travels through bloodlines. It skips generations but never truly disappears completely. I hung up the phone feeling like ice was melting. David found me crying in our darkened kitchen later. I told him everything about Antonio and family curses. He held me tight, dismissing it as coincidental childhood imagination. Michael will be fine, honey, kids. Say weird things. Hez just creative like his artistic mother and father. We decided to focus on normal family life instead. Texas summers brought backyard barbecues with military friends and neighbors. David grilled burgers while I made potato salad and lemonade. Michael's laughter filled our small yard with pure joy. He played with other kids, chasing fireflies at twilight. Those golden afternoons felt like paradise we had earned. Fellow soldiers brought their families, creating extended military community. Children ran through sprinklers, while adults shared war stories. Michael drew pictures of everyone at these happy gatherings. His art showed families holding hands under smiling suns. But darker drawings appeared mixed with the cheerful ones. Shadowy figures lurked behind trees in his family portraits. Eyes without faces stared from corners of his papers. I hid those disturbing pictures in my bedroom drawer. David never saw the frightening side of Michael's artwork. I protected him from my growing fears and superstitions. Michael started kindergarten at Fort Hood Elementary School, bright and eager. His teacher praised his exceptional artistic talents and imagination. But she also mentioned his tendency towards solitary play. He talks to himself during recess instead of playing. The other children think he's strange and avoid him. Michael comes home with stories about his invisible friends. They follow him to school, sitting in empty desks. The old man Antonio teaches him about family history. A lady in white dress sings lullabies during nap time. I scheduled appointments with child psychologists and counselors immediately. Everyone said Michael showed signs of gifted creative intelligence. Imaginary friends indicated healthy emotional development, they claimed confidently. I wanted to believe their professional reassurances desperately. But mother's intuition whispered warnings I could not ignore. The breaking point came during Michael's 7th birthday party. We invited neighborhood families for cake and pin the tail. Michael seemed happy, opening presents and blowing out candles. David had grilled hot dogs and hamburgers for everyone. Children played games while adults chatted on our patio. Everything felt normal and beautifully ordinary for once. Then suddenly Michael screamed like he was being attacked. He flipped the dinner table, sending food flying everywhere. Potato salad splattered across our kitchen walls like paint. Hot dogs rolled under furniture while parents grabbed their children. Michael stood shaking and pointing at empty dining room chair. "Why is he sitting there?" he shouted with terror. "Antonio says I have to go with him now." The room fell silent except for Michael's frightened breathing. David knelt beside our son, trying to calm him. "Michael, baby, there's nobody sitting in that chair at all." But Michael kept staring at that empty space with horror. I gripped his small hand, feeling it tremble violently. Fear flashed through my eyes like lightning in storms. The other families left quickly, making awkward, polite excuses. We cleaned up the mess in devastating, terrible silence. That night I held Michael while he cried himself asleep. "Mama," he whispered, "the voices are getting louder now. I don't want to hear them anymore, please help." My heart broke into pieces listening to his plea. This was the beginning of our longest, darkest war. The enemy lived inside my beautiful son's mind. And I had no idea how to fight back. November 15th, 1995, shattered our world completely. Michael had been stable for 3 months on new medication. David seemed hopeful, talking about family vacation plans again. We saved money for a trip to Galveston beaches. The bills from psychiatric hospitals kept growing like tumors. Our savings account bled dry from endless medical expenses. David worked double shifts at the motor pool desperately. I picked up weekend nursing jobs at civilian hospitals. Still, the debt crushed us like concrete falling slowly. David stopped sleeping, lying awake, calculating unpayable numbers. His laughter disappeared, replaced by hollow, staring silences. He blamed himself for Michael's inherited genetic curse somehow. Maybe I passed bad blood to our son. Maybe God is punishing me for something terrible. I told him mental illness strikes families without reason. But guilt ate David alive like acid through steel. Michael sensed the tension, drawing darker pictures than usual. His invisible friends Antonio and the White Lady whispered. They told him Daddy was planning to leave forever. I dismissed it as childhood fears and imagination. That Tuesday morning felt ordinary like any other day. David kissed my forehead, saying, "I love you both." Michael hugged his father before catching the school bus. "See you tonight, Daddy," Michael called through bus windows. David waved with tears. I didn't notice until later. I worked my shift at the base medical clinic. Routine physicals and flu shots filled my morning hours. Around noon, my pager buzzed with David's phone number. I called back, expecting lunch plans or grocery requests. Helen, his voice sounded hollow like wind through caves. "I can't carry this burden anymore," he whispered shakily. "The medical bills and Michael's sickness are destroying everything. I'm not strong enough to be the father." "David, baby, what are you talking about?" I demanded. But the line went dead with terrifying final click. I ran to my car, calling his name frantically. The drive home took forever through thick traffic jams. My hand shook, gripping the steering wheel desperately tight. Something deep inside knew what waited at home. I pulled into our driveway, seeing the garage door closed when it should have been open wide. David always left it open during afternoon hours. The silence felt wrong, like death hanging heavy. I opened the side door and time stopped completely. David sat in his truck with engine running quietly. The exhaust hose snaked through the passenger window carefully. His head rested against the steering wheel peacefully. A handwritten note lay folded on the dashboard. "I can't carry this anymore, forgive me please." The 8 words destroyed my world in seconds. I yanked the hose free and turned off engine. Too late, his skin already felt cold and final. CPR training kicked in, but David was gone forever. I screamed his name until neighbors came running quickly. Police arrived asking questions I couldn't answer coherently. The coroner ruled it suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning. Michael came home from school finding chaos and strangers. "Where is Daddy?" he asked with innocent confusion. I knelt beside our 8-year-old son trembling. "Daddy got sick and went to heaven today, baby." "But why are the police here?" he demanded. I held him while he cried, understanding nothing. The funeral happened 4 days later in November rain. Military honor guard folded the American flag precisely. 21 gun salute echoed across cemetery hills. I wore my dress uniform, standing straight like steel. Fellow soldiers whispered, "She's stronger than anyone we know." But inside I was dying piece by piece. Michael held my hand wearing his only suit. He talked to empty air during the entire service. "Antonio says Daddy is happy now in heaven. The white lady says you will be alone." I squeezed his hand, trying to silence invisible voices. After everyone left, we stood beside fresh grave. Rain mixed with tears, I refused to shed publicly. Michael placed a drawing on the muddy headstone carefully. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands, smiling. "Daddy will always be with us, Mama," he whispered. That night, Michael slept in my bed for comfort. I waited until his breathing became deep and steady. Then I walked to our bathroom and collapsed completely. The strongest soldier finally allowed herself to break apart. Sobs racked my body like earthquakes through mountains. I cried for David's pain and my helplessness. I cried for Michael's future without his father. I cried for bills I couldn't pay alone. Most of all, I cried for my complete failure. I couldn't save my husband from his demons. I couldn't protect my son from inherited madness. Military training never prepared me for this war. The enemy lived inside the people I loved. Michael appeared in the doorway, rubbing sleepy eyes. "Mama, why are you crying on the floor?" "I'm scared of the voices in my head." I pulled him close, feeling his small heartbeat. "We will be okay, baby," I promised through tears. "You and me against the whole world forever." Michael nodded, trusting his mother's strength completely. But doubt poisoned my heart like spreading infection. How could I fight genetics and mental illness alone? The insurance money would cover David's funeral costs. Nothing remained for Michael's ongoing psychiatric care needs. I stared at our reflection in the bathroom mirror. 2 broken people trying to survive family curses. The mirror showed cracks from Michael's earlier episodes. My face looked fractured through shattered glass pieces. "If death wants war," I whispered to reflection, "I'll give it the fight of my life. This inherited curse will not destroy us too. I am Helen Johnson, and I don't surrender." David gave up, but I will never quit. Michael needs a mother who fights until dying. The voices in his head won't win. The family curse stops with me right here. Tomorrow, I start this war against fate itself. Tonight we mourn, but dawn brings battle stations. I kissed Michael's forehead and made sacred vows. We will survive this together against all odds. Death took David, but it won't take us. The mirror reflected 2 warriors, not 2 victims. Our real fight was just beginning in earnest. The years between 1996 and 2007. They blur together like scenes from a nightmare marathon. Michael turned 9, still talking to great-grandfather Antonio. But now the voices multiplied into angry, threatening crowds. Hospital stays became routine every 3 to 4 months. I memorized every psychiatrist's name in Houston, Texas. Dr. Rodriguez tried lithium, then switched to Risperdal quickly. Dr. Chen experimented with new antipsychotic medications daily. Dr. Williams suggested electroshock therapy as last resort option. I refused letting anyone fry my son's beautiful brain. The insurance company denied claims, calling treatments experimental procedures. Medical bills stacked on our kitchen table like towers. I took a night security job at downtown office building. 8 hours walking, empty hallways, checking locked doors repeatedly. The pay was terrible, but I needed health benefits. My coworkers were mostly military veterans like me exactly. We shared war stories during coffee breaks and shift changes. At least nobody's shooting at me here, I joked. But inside, I felt bullets hitting me every day. Michael's episodes grew more violent and unpredictable with age. 13 years old, he towered over my 5-foot frame. His strength during psychotic breaks terrified store clerks and strangers. One Tuesday afternoon at Kroger grocery store downtown Houston, Michael suddenly screamed, "CIA is watching me through cameras." He knocked over display cases of canned tomatoes violently. Soup cans rolled across linoleum floors like metallic thunder. Shoppers scattered, grabbing their children and running toward exits. Store manager called security while I chased my son. "Michael, baby, nobody is watching you," I called desperately. But he climbed shelving units, trying to reach security cameras. 2 security guards cornered him near the produce section. I stepped between them and my terrified boy protectively. "Please don't hurt him. He's sick, not dangerous." The guards backed away, seeing my military bearing and authority. I coaxed Michael down, speaking in calm, steady tones. Outside the store, I held him while he cried. "Well, at least he thinks big," I told concerned strangers. "My son believes the government finds him important enough." Humor became my shield against public humiliation and stares. If I didn't laugh, I would collapse completely. 15-year-old Michael discovered his artistic talents accidentally. During a hospital stay, he started drawing with crayons. His pictures showed incredible detail and haunting emotional depth. Nurses gathered around his bedside, watching him create masterpieces. "This boy has real talent," one nurse whispered admiringly. Michael drew portraits of patients with photographic accuracy somehow. He captured their pain and hope in pencil strokes. Art therapy became part of his treatment plan immediately. For brief periods, creativity silenced the angry voices inside. But the relief never lasted more than weeks occasionally. 16 brought the darkest episode of Michael's young life. I came home from work, finding our house destroyed. Every mirror in the house lay shattered on floors. Michael had cut his hands on broken glass pieces. Blood painted abstract patterns across our white walls completely. He stood in my bedroom screaming at his reflection. "Why did you even give birth to me? I should have died instead of living cursed." Antonio says I'm supposed to join him now. The white lady says death is peaceful and quiet. His words cut deeper than any glass could ever. I stood perfectly still, letting fragments pierce my skin. "Michael, baby, you are my greatest blessing, not curse." But he couldn't hear love through the voices screaming. He picked up a large mirror shard, advancing toward me. I didn't move or defend myself against him. If Michael needed to hurt someone, it should be better me than himself or innocent strangers anywhere. The shard trembled in his bloody, shaking hands. Then he collapsed, sobbing into my waiting arms safely. "Mama, I don't want to hurt you ever." But the voices tell me terrible things constantly. They say you hate me for being broken. I held him tight, ignoring glass, cutting us both. "I could never hate you, Michael. You're my heart. We'll fight these voices together until they stop." The ambulance arrived 20 minutes after my call. Paramedics bandaged our cuts while Michael calmed down slowly. Another psychiatric, hold another hospital stay, another bill. I sat in uncomfortable chairs guarding him through nights. Too exhausted to close my eyes for sleep. Coffee became my primary source of nutrition and energy. Other parents in psychiatric wards shared similar stories quietly. We formed an unspoken club of the walking wounded. Mothers and fathers broken by loving impossible children. Some families gave up placing kids in state institutions. I understood their choice but couldn't make it myself. Michael was my son, my responsibility, my sacred duty. 2006 brought temporary hope through new medications. Michael stayed stable for 6 months without major episodes. He painted murals for community centers and local businesses. His art showed beauty hiding inside tortured minds clearly. People commissioned portraits paying decent money for his work. Maybe we could survive on his artistic talents alone. But schizophrenia never stays quiet for long periods. 2007 brought the worst relapse in years. Michael destroyed 3 months' worth of paintings during breakdown. Canvas and paint covered our living room like explosion. He screamed that his art was evil and cursed. Antonio told him beauty was Satan's trap for souls. I swept up pieces of his destroyed masterpieces, crying. Each torn canvas represented hope I'd lost forever. That night, I sat beside Michael's hospital bed. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows everywhere. My reflection in the window showed a stranger. Gray hair, premature wrinkles, and exhausted hollow eyes. 11 years of this war had aged me. I looked 60 instead of 43 years old. But I wasn't surrendering despite feeling completely defeated inside. Tomorrow would bring another battle, another small victory. Michael needed me to stay strong and keep fighting. The voices might win battles, but not this war. I was his mother, his protector, his last line. Sleep finally took me in that uncomfortable chair. But even in dreams, I stood guard duty. March 3rd, 2008 started like any ordinary Tuesday. Michael had been stable for 2 weeks on adjusted medications. I rushed down our apartment stairs carrying grocery bags. The third step from the bottom was loose and rickety. My foot caught the broken board, sending me tumbling forward. The sound of bones snapping echoed through the stairwell clearly. Pain shot up my leg like lightning through storm clouds. Grocery bags exploded across concrete, spilling cans and bread everywhere. Michael heard the crash from our second-floor apartment. "Mama," he called, running downstairs 3 at a time. I lay twisted on cold concrete, unable to move. My left tibia jutted through skin at an impossible angle. Michael knelt beside me, his eyes wide with panic. "Call 911, baby," I whispered through gritted teeth. For once, his hand stayed steady, dialing emergency numbers. The paramedics arrived, finding Michael holding my hand gently. He answered their questions with surprising clarity and focus. "My mother is a veteran. She needs the best care." At the hospital, doctors inserted metal rods and screws. 6 weeks in a cast with strict bed rest orders. For the first time, Michael became my primary caregiver. The role reversal felt strange and terrifying for us both. Michael helped me to the bathroom with awkward, gentle hands. He cooked meals that usually ended up slightly burned. Guess the army never trained me for this kitchen battlefield. I joked watching him flip charcoal pancakes Tuesday morning. Michael laughed, the first genuine sound in months from him. Maybe I should stick to painting instead of cooking. His smile made the burnt breakfast taste like heaven somehow. For 2 weeks, our reversed roles worked surprisingly well. Michael painted during the day while I rested peacefully. He brought me meals and helped with basic daily tasks. We watched old movies together on our small television. Michael seemed calmer, having someone depending on his strength. But the pressure of responsibility began weighing on him. My medical bills arrived in intimidating, thick manila envelopes. Michael saw the numbers and his hands started shaking. "Mama, we owe $30,000 for surgery alone. How can we ever pay this much money back?" I tried reassuring him about payment plans and insurance. But Michael's mind began spiraling into familiar dark territories. He started talking to Antonio more frequently each night. The voices told him he was useless burden, destroying everything. "You should have let me die years ago. Then Mama could have a normal, happy life." I'm the reason Daddy killed himself in garage. I'm the reason we're broke and drowning constantly. His self-hatred grew stronger than any medication could combat. One Thursday night, Michael's fragile stability finally shattered completely. I heard him screaming in the kitchen around midnight. The voices were louder than they had been in years. Michael threw dishes against walls, creating explosive crashes everywhere. I called his name from my bed, unable to help. My broken leg trapped me like prisoner in chains. Michael appeared in my doorway with wild, desperate eyes. Blood dripped from cuts on his hands and arms. Mama, I can't take care of anyone anymore. I can't even take care of myself properly. Antonio says I should join Daddy in heaven now. He grabbed a kitchen knife from the counter drawer. Michael, baby, put the knife down and talk to me. But he couldn't hear my voice through the screaming chaos. I watched helplessly as my son threatened to disappear forever. My cell phone lay on the nightstand 3 feet away. I lunged for it, ignoring searing pain in my leg. My fingers dialed the first number in my contacts list. Rosa Gonzalez had been my friend since Army days. She worked as psychiatric nurse at Memorial Hospital downtown. Rosa, it's Helen. Michael is having a breakdown, please. I'm trapped with a broken leg and he's threatening. 20 minutes later, Rosa burst through our apartment door. She moved with professional confidence I remembered from combat. Michael stood frozen, holding the knife against his throat. Rosa approached him, speaking in calm, soothing Spanish tones. Mijo, you don't want to hurt yourself or anyone. Your mama needs you to be strong right now. She extended her hand, waiting patiently for his response. Michael stared at this stranger with curious, confused eyes. Something in Rosa's voice penetrated through his mental fog. He dropped the knife and collapsed, sobbing into her arms. Rosa held him while I watched from my helpless position. She called the crisis intervention team from her phone. But this time felt different than previous hospital visits. Rosa stayed with us through the entire emergency response. She rode in the ambulance, holding Michael's trembling hand. At the hospital, she advocated for better treatment options. Rosa knew the system and which doctors showed real compassion. She arranged for Michael to see Dr. Patricia Williams, a specialist in trauma-informed art therapy treatments specifically. Dr. Williams believed creativity could heal fractured minds gradually. She enrolled Michael in an experimental program immediately. The program combined medication with intensive artistic expression therapy. Michael would paint his demons instead of fighting them. Rosa visited us every day during my recovery period. She brought home cooked meals and genuine understanding friendship. You saved my life in Kuwait, she reminded me. When that roadside bomb exploded, you dragged me to safety. Now I get to return the favor here. Rosa's kindness felt like a miracle I never expected receiving. Her professional expertise guided us through treatment maze successfully. She connected Michael with other artists battling similar demons. A support group of creative souls healing through shared expression. For the first time, we didn't face this alone. Rosa's intervention marked the beginning of real healing process. My broken leg became the crack that let light inside. Sometimes, we must fall completely before learning to fly. Michael started painting with purpose instead of just surviving. The voices still whispered, but art spoke louder now. Rosa taught us that healing requires community, not isolation. One person's past kindness became our present salvation completely. This was the turning point we had waited for. Dr. Patricia Williams ran the art therapy program at Memorial Hospital. Her studio filled an entire wing with natural light and hope. Canvases lined every wall, showing healing through creative expression desperately. Michael entered the program 3 weeks after Rosa's life-saving intervention. His first day, he clutched my hand like a frightened child. 20 other artists worked quietly at easels around bright room. Some painted flowers, while others drew geometric patterns and shapes. Michael chose a corner easel away from everyone else immediately. Dr. Williams approached us with gentle understanding, smile radiating warmth. Art speaks languages that words cannot reach, she explained softly. Michael will paint his inner world until healing begins naturally. She handed him brushes and palette of basic primary colors. Michael stared at blank canvas like it held dangerous secrets. His trembling hands mixed black and gray paint together slowly. The first painting emerged as chaotic storm of shadows and darkness. Jagged lines cut across canvas like lightning through storm clouds. Red drops fell from brushstrokes like blood from invisible wounds. I watched from corner chair, feeling his pain in color. This is how the voices look inside my head. Dr. Williams nodded with professional understanding and genuine compassion throughout. Let them speak through your hands instead of your mind. Week after week, Michael returned, painting his invisible demons carefully. Each canvas grew slightly brighter with hints of hidden light. Gray storms gained small patches of blue sky between clouds. The angry red softened into gentle pink morning sunrise colors. Michael painted for 3 hours every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. Rosa drove him to sessions while I recovered completely. She became our unofficial family member and trusted guardian angel. Her presence calmed Michael during his most difficult artistic moments. Month 3 brought Michael's first painting with recognizable human figures. A woman in military uniform stood protecting small boy. The woman's face showed exhaustion, but unbreakable, fierce determination. The boy held paintbrush instead of weapon in tiny hands. Michael titled it Mama the Warrior and Guardian Angel. I cried seeing myself through my son's artistic, loving eyes. He painted me as hero instead of failed mother. That canvas showed how Michael truly saw our relationship clearly. Dr. Williams suggested Michael try painting happier childhood memories next. Slowly, his palette expanded beyond darkness and shadow tones exclusively. Yellow appeared first, like tentative sunshine breaking through storm clouds. Then green grass and blue skies joined his artistic vocabulary. Michael painted our old house in Laredo during summer afternoons. David appeared in several paintings playing guitar under stars. These memories felt healing instead of painful for once. The voices still whispered, but art spoke much louder now. Antonio and the White Lady became characters in paintings. Instead of tormenting Michael, they became part of stories. He painted great-grandfather Antonio as sad, lonely old man. The White Lady became guardian spirit watching over family always. Art transformed his tormentors into manageable fictional characters gradually and successfully. 6 months into therapy, Michael completed his masterpiece painting finally. The canvas showed cracked mirror, reflecting fractured family portrait beautifully. But golden light poured through every crack, creating stunning patterns. The broken pieces formed kaleidoscope of hope and healing together. Michael called it the crack in the dark appropriately. Dr. Williams suggested entering Michael's work in local art exhibition. St. Mary's Church held annual community art show every spring. Michael felt terrified about strangers judging his most personal expressions. But Rosa encouraged him with gentle, persistent, loving support always. Your pain transformed into beauty deserves to be seen. The exhibition opened on Saturday morning in April sunshine. Michael hung 12 paintings in the church fellowship hall nervously. Folding tables displayed artwork from 30 local artists and creators. Most showed landscapes and still life arrangements quite predictably. Michael's emotional intensity stood out dramatically among conventional art pieces. Early visitors walked past his display without much interest shown. But gradually people began stopping and staring longer at canvases. His raw honesty drew viewers into conversations about mental health. One painting showed hands reaching through darkness toward light. Another depicted soldier carrying wounded comrade through battlefield smoke. The soldier's son became the most discussed piece immediately. It showed young man painting while invisible figures watched approvingly. The brushstrokes captured struggle and hope in equal, powerful measures. Margaret Thompson, an art dealer from downtown Houston, arrived unexpectedly. She studied Michael's work for 30 minutes without speaking words. Her trained eye recognized authentic artistic talent and emotional depth. "I want to buy The Soldier's Son," she announced suddenly. $5,000 for this piece, and exclusive exhibition rights. Michael stood frozen, unable to process what was happening completely. I held the check with shaking hands, reading zeros repeatedly. Tears flowed down my cheeks like rivers after desert rain. This proved my son had value beyond his mental illness. His broken mind created beauty that strangers wanted owning permanently. Michael looked at me with wonder and disbelief in eyes. "Mom, I'm officially richer than you now," he joked quietly. About damn time, I burst out laughing through happy tears. The entire church hall turned to watch our emotional celebration. Other artists applauded, understanding the significance of this moment completely. Rosa hugged us both, crying with joy and proud satisfaction. Dr. Williams beamed like proud mother, watching child graduate successfully. Margaret scheduled Michael's first solo exhibition for following month immediately. She believed his work would inspire others facing similar battles. "Art transforms pain into purpose," she explained to gathered crowd. Michael's journey from darkness to light deserves wider audience appreciation. That evening, we celebrated at Rosa's house with homemade tamales. Michael painted thank you cards for everyone who supported him. His artwork now filled our apartment walls with color and hope. The voices still whispered occasionally, but quieter than before significantly. Art had given Michael language for his internal struggles finally. Instead of fighting demons, he painted them into submission gradually. Beauty emerged from ashes of our broken family dreams completely. The crack in our darkness had become doorway to light. Michael was no longer just surviving, he was thriving beautifully. And I had learned that mothers don't always save children. Sometimes children save themselves through gifts we never knew existed. Our war was far from over, but victory felt possible. Art had given us weapons against the family curse finally. Present day finds me 63 years old with silver hair. I walk with a slight limp from that broken leg. But my back stays straight like the soldier I remain. Michael is 35 now, a recognized artist across Texas. His paintings hang in galleries from Houston to San Antonio. The demons he once fought became angels in his artwork. Mental health organizations commission pieces for their healing spaces regularly. His story inspires other families fighting similar invisible wars daily. 5 years ago, I started sharing our story publicly. First at church support groups, then community mental health centers. My voice shook during those early speaking engagements terribly. But Rosa encouraged me to keep telling our truth. "Your story gives hope to mothers drowning in despair. You show them survival is possible through love and persistence." Now I speak at conferences and veteran family gatherings. Military wives facing their own children's mental health battles. I tell them about great-grandfather Antonio's generational curse. How we transformed inherited madness into artistic healing gift. The audiences always cry when I reach David's suicide. They gasp when I describe Michael's knife at throat. But they cheer when I talk about art conquering darkness. My laptop sits open on kitchen table this morning. The cursor blinks on empty blog page waiting patiently. Helen's Journey from Darkness to Light, the title reads. I've been thinking about this first post for weeks. How do you summarize 30 years of war into words? How do you explain love stronger than mental illness? My fingers hover over keys, gathering courage to begin. This is not a tragedy, I finally type slowly. This is a legacy rewritten through blood and tears and hope. The words flow easier once I start telling our truth. I write about Laredo Dust Devils and Daddy's carpenter hands. About falling in love with David under Texas stars. About Michael's birth and those first ominous warning signs. Each paragraph feels like confession and celebration combined together beautifully. I describe the hospital nights and financial devastation completely. The grocery store meltdowns and broken mirrors everywhere in house. David's final note, and that terrible gunshot echoing forever. 11 years of fighting alone against invisible enemies daily. Rosa's intervention and Dr. Williams' art therapy program miracle. The first painting sale and Michael's transformation into artist. My phone buzzes with text from Michael across town. Gallery opening tonight, Mama. You better be there early. I text back, wouldn't miss it for anything, son. He sends photo of his latest masterpiece hanging perfectly. Golden light pours through painted cracks in dark canvas. The piece captures our entire journey in brushstrokes and color. I save the blog post draft and close laptop gently. Tonight belongs to Michael and his artistic triumph celebration. The drive to downtown Gallery takes 30 minutes through traffic. My old Honda runs perfectly despite 200,000 miles. Some things endure when you take proper care of them, like love and hope and determination to never quit. The gallery buzzes with opening night energy and excitement. Wine glasses clink, while art lovers study Michael's latest collection. Hope Through Broken Light, the exhibition title proclaims boldly. 25 paintings chronicle our journey from despair to healing. I stand in back watching strangers discover my son's talent. A young mother stops before the soldier's mother painting carefully. She wipes tears studying my painted face, showing exhaustion and strength. Her husband whispers something about his own family struggles quietly. Art speaks universal languages of pain and redemption together. Michael appears beside me wearing his best black suit proudly. You clean up nice for a crazy artist, I tease. He laughs, that sound I thought was lost forever once. Mama, you taught me that broken doesn't mean worthless. Cracks let light in if you know where to look. The gallery owner announces Michael will speak at 8 o'clock. He takes the microphone with steady hands and clear voice. My name is Michael Johnson, and I paint my demons. For years they tormented me, speaking hatred and despair. But my mother never stopped believing in my hidden worth. She fought for me when I couldn't fight myself. Tonight these paintings prove that mental illness doesn't define us. It's what we create, despite the darkness that matters. The audience applauds as Michael points toward my corner. That woman back there is the real artist here. She painted hope on my heart when everything was black. I wave through tears as people turn to see me. An elderly veteran approaches, shaking my hand firmly afterward. My grandson has schizophrenia, he whispers, with pain showing. Your story gives us hope that he might survive this. This is why I share our truth with strangers. Every family fighting this battle needs to know escape exists. Love and art and community can overcome genetic curses. The evening ends with red dot stickers on paintings. Sold signs mark Michael's growing success and recognition finally. We drive home together through Houston's glittering nightlights. Mama, will you finish that blog post tomorrow morning? People need to hear how we rewrote our family story. I promise to share everything, including the darkest moments. Our pain transformed into purpose deserves wider audience reach. At home, I open the laptop and begin typing again. To families drowning in mental illness and despair today, you are not alone in this seemingly impossible fight. Love is stronger than genetics, and hope conquers darkness. My son Michael was supposed to die young and forgotten. Instead, he lives creating beauty from inherited pain daily. We cracked the curse that haunted 4 generations of family. Not through medicine or therapy alone, but through community. Rose's kindness, Dr. Williams' expertise, Michael's artistic gifts combined. And one stubborn mother who refused to surrender ever. This African-American woman once carried her country proudly, then carried her son's madness for 20 desperate years. Now I carry stories of hope to families still fighting. Pain becomes strength when shared with loving community support. Resilience grows through witnessing others survive their darkness too. We have rewritten our family's fate through unyielding love. The curse stops here, replaced by legacy of healing. I publish the blog post and close the laptop. Tomorrow, we'll bring new families, seeking hope and guidance. Tonight, I sleep peacefully, knowing our story continues spreading. Light conquers darkness, one family at a time always.